Um. Oh, right. So on this map, it's kind of like the map of Faerun a little bit. So I have drawn a T for that was where the teleport spell that we encountered. That was around the general area where we teleported. Um, that star was kind of where we got teleported to. Um, and like the distances are pretty wide and stuff. And so the dragon, like the cave where we were previously, where we fought Sarosa and Frulam and everybody, was there in that little star general area. Um, when we defeated Frulam and we went through her notes and maps and everything, we found a reference to the how they were going to be transporting things through the tradeway, and they were going to be using the coastway. I've kind of like highlighted it on that red path, so you know kind of what direction they are using. Um, and then Elturel, which is where we were going to be going to, is right here on the blue, on the red, on the circle, which I can do better with that. There we go. So this is where Elturel is, just so that everybody knows where all the things are. All right. Are there any questions of like on how kind of like the map works and stuff?
Yes, perfect.
Yep, looks good.
Awesome. And then I guess greenest for people like if we needed to look at it was down here. So just for a frame of reference.
I think Greenest is going to run into some copyright problems because of its name.
Greenest is it's actually kind of brown during the fall, so they named they're not the greenest anymore.
Yep.
That's what I keep thinking every time we talk about greenest, to be honest with you all.
Well, maybe it's pine
Um,
trees,
right.
like evergreens.
Wouldn't it be
Um,
evergreenest?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got my notes. I got this. All right. Um, so last we left off, we had just exited the. We were heading into the city of Elturel, right? And we did mention that it was going to take us about a week to get there, and like on foot, getting to this general area because we were just going to cross straight into it, and make our way to this place. Um, during this time, um, all of us, the characters, we were able to kind of hone in and learn about all of our experiences up until now. Starting in Greenest and chasing these people and fighting all these monsters. So we were able to kind of like dig deep and discuss the lessons that we had learned throughout this entire process, and it looked different for each and every single one of you. Uh, in the case of Bumpy, for example, you having fought for Lam and encountered the red mages, you realized like your connection to the weave and the magical, like you're exploring like the magical realm a little bit. So you deepened your knowledge and your connection, and you've started to be able to cast these higher level spells thanks to that, like getting understanding of like, okay, I know how to do a minor illusion, but I know how the weave works a little bit better, so I can now cast the disguise self, and I can really disguise myself and make myself look like somebody else, right?
Absolutely.
Um, in the case, in the case of Crom, for you, this looks a little bit differently in the sense of you have gotten like now that you have accessed this, um, I know it's I believe is the giants, right? That's what it was. Do do do. Yeah, so like now that you have access these elemental abilities that you have, and you have turned yourself into it, you've kind of like deepened your knowledge of like with a primordial realm and your giant heritage that's been around. And so you have also gotten to push yourself and your limits a little bit more, being able to um use your rage and like use the barbarian's rage. That's what I'm calling it. Just but like that moment of barbarian power to kind of like either bolster yourself, but also be able to attack and do more damage as this comes across.
Okay.
Um, for Gray, and I'm leaving Acer for the end. For Gray, like in this case, mainly what he's been doing, as you know, he's been gathering notes and intel and information that he's learned throughout these adventures. But as you've been traveling, you'll notice that he pulls out of like his pack. He's been pulling out like this little kind of Rubik's cube puzzle. It's a cube, and it has a little. It's a cube. It's a metal cube, and then like on the outside is glass, and then there's a little pebble or metal ball that is kind of in between the metal, like the cube and the glass on the outside, and it has a path to it. And as you turn around the cube into different directions, and you can also rotate it and move it, you are trying to open. You're trying to solve the puzzle, right? Like the ball starts in a place, and you're trying to take it to a different place. And as you've been traveling, you notice that Gray is kind of like moving this thing and rotating it, and it's clearly magical. And at some point during this trip, he manages to finally crack the code. And what he tells everybody about this cube, when asked about it, he always says, "Oh, it's just it was a parting gift that my father gave me before I left. He said that when the time was right, I would be able to open it and get the rewards that were inside. It was just something that he had given me." And throughout this trip, he manages to open it. As it opens up, you get a couple of things that there's three what look like amber rocks. They're a little bit thicker, and when you hold them up to the light, you can see different things inside of the amber. And on top of all of that, they came wrapped in a piece of parchment. And the parchment, when you look at it, it doesn't necessarily speak to anybody very much. But Bumpy, you are able to decipher the parchment. Would you uh, give Gray a hand with the parchment?
Absolutely, bro.
So you read the words in the parchment, and as you read these words in the parchment, they kind of like start lifting and floating. And as they do, they wrap around these amber jewels that were there. And once you finish reading this parchment, you notice that the weave is kind of like wrapping around these rocks. And as you finish the last incantation, um, the amber kind of like cracks, and three different items come out. Uh, Two of them are a couple of swords. They're short swords. They look kind of like machetes, and they only have like a blade. And in the blade at the very bottom near the hilt, it has engraved with Gray's family name, which is the still bottom name. And he mentions that those were his father's swords that he used when he used to be more of a investigator for hire that traveled the places, and those were his weapons. Um, so his dad has clearly given that those swords to his son. And aside from that, there's a notebook. It's a very thick tome, and as you all kind of like flip through it, you realize that it's written in code, and that it's kind of like something that Gray is going to be working on his own.
Okay, so that was
With
the
that,
third I'm sorry, I apologize.
yes, that was the third item. So there were two
Okay,
short
cool.
swords and the little notebook. Uh, and you get the feeling that with a little more studying, you could probably replicate this spell, Bumpy. And we can talk
Okay.
about it. We can talk about it some more, depending on depending on how we depending on how today goes. We'll talk about it more either now or later.
Okay, I don't wanna derail you, so if you have more to go, I'm happy to talk about it later, but if it's important to the plot, I'm happy to proceed.
It is not important to the plot. Um, I just don't think Bumpy has the necessary knowledge right this second to be able to replicate the spell, but he may meet somebody
Understood.
who has some ability, depending on what y'all choose to do as a party.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Hint, hint.
Um, yeah. And so with that, so Gray has a couple like his family swords now. And with that, we have Acer who has kind of like dipped his toes into like this revenge that he's been searching, right? Like his family got murdered and everybody got this like got killed, and he swore that he would avenge his family, even forging a pact with this entity that's been kind of like very slowly um trying to get into his life and trying to he's giving him powers without getting himself very well known. Throughout this whole week, Acer, in your case, uh in one of the nights, you have a dream in which you're in like it's a dark room and it's kind of like a it's a dark room but you can see through it kind of like almost like there was a black light, so it's all purple around and everything, and you're sitting on a chair at a table, and there's food in front of you, and across the table from you there's an entity wrapped in shadows, humanoid in shape but you can't make out anything. It's just dark. And as you're having this dream, you know that you're dreaming because you remember going to bed, but you don't necessarily know where you are.
Yeah, because I fall
And
into like the trance state during the long rest as
right,
a fae.
right. And so like you remember it, like you remember that. Sorry, and you are right. You didn't remember sleeping. You remember going into that trance, but you're not where you left off. If like you're not like in your body where you were when you went to to the trance, right? And as you're sitting there at this table with the food and a plate in front of you, this ominous dark figure kind of like reaches down to the plate and says, and he eats a couple of bites and looks up at you. And even though you can't see his eyes, his mouth, his nose, or anything, you know he's looking at you, and that view goes deeper than just your corporeal body, but it goes deep into your soul a little bit. And he looks at you and says, "Welcome. I was waiting for the opportunity to meet you. You needed a little bit more time than I would have liked, but you are finally here. How are you doing?"
Um, where am I?
Uh, the where, how, and when is not necessarily important. The important part is that you are here and that we have met. I've been
And
watching you for. What's up?
and who are you that we have met? Because you seem to know me. I don't necessarily know you.
You know me better than you would think. Names, you will get to know them. But for tonight and for this time being, I just wanted to say that I've been knowing you for a long, long time. I've watched you grow and I've watched you seek revenge. You may say in some circles that I facilitated such revenge, and that my presence in your life is what has given you certain hmm, abilities.
And
So,
so when he does that, can I like bring out the sword in in the trance dream or whatever?
oh yeah, you can.
Okay, so
And when
I'll
you
do
bring out
that.
cool, so you bring out the sword, and out of like a how about this? Describe what the sword normally looks like. I know we talking about it as a great sword, two-handed weapon, but what does it look like more in detail?
So it's very similar to kind of what the token looks like, where it's like this um
Ooh, we're gonna
somehow.
try something. Hold on, 1 second. If I do this, can everybody see Acer's picture?
Yeah, I mean I can. I don't know about everyone else.
Yes.
Cool. So like that's
Yeah,
kind of
I
what the
see.
sword looks like.
Yeah, it looks very similar. This is a computer's imagination of what it might look like because I'm cheap when it comes to D&D, but basically it's like somehow like a matte metal, but a reflective metal at the same time, and it's got like this kind of like dark purple and black, almost like a steam, but it doesn't really look corporeal. So just kind of emanating around it.
Okay,
Oh, damn.
awesome.
Nice.
So as you see this sword in this different dimension, the blade seems to be deeper and darker than ever before. Like the light, and there's like this purple light where you're in, this black light is almost being sucked into the blade. And the part of the hilt that looks kind of like on your picture that looks like an eyeball is an eyeball where you are. And it moves and looks at you. Um like it moves and it's looking at you and its surroundings, and as it's doing that. And the entity across the table from you says, "Yes, you see, my gifts are nothing but great. Who do you think gave you that and the powers to get it? Now, mind you, there may be at some point certain requests that I may make out of you, but your goals and mine are aligned. I know you want revenge, and I am in it for some revenge as well. So, with that, I think we will get along great. Don't you need a little more power to be able to fulfill your goals?"
Well, what's in this for you?
For me, you say? Well, for me, it's just the ability to help you. I mentioned I have requests. I may have a request or two, of course, but I am also searching for revenge, which I would assume just made us, you know, so alike. Well, it seems my greatness has left you speechless.
I'm
Just
just
know. Go ahead.
considering who you are and what these requests might be, and you know, I don't necessarily take kindly to being someone else's pawn. And if you consider me that, then you should count your days.
And he snaps his fingers, and your blade disappears, and all the magic and connection to the things that you've gotten used to goes away. Like you feel like even if you could summon your weapon or something, like you just can't. And he says, "Careful. I understand that you don't like to be a pawn, and I never said you would be. Just wanted some requests. Haven't you done the same for me, and I've been your pawn this whole time? You wave your hand and magic happens. Who do you think is giving you that?" He snaps his fingers again, and the blade reappears in your hand, and you feel revitalized with the energy that he has been giving you throughout this adventure. He says, "There is this not. I do not act like these other ones, the mighty ones, the righteous one gods out there, and even the other pantheon, the angry and desolate and uh no. This is not a pawn situation where I force my will and you do what I want. I wanted this to be a partnership."
Okay, this can be a partnership for now, but the moment there's trouble, nameless entity in my dreams, then there will be trouble for all, not just me, but for you
Well,
as well.
well, of course. If anything were to happen to you, my fun will be over. So no, trust me, this will be great. I just, I honestly wanted to do this much, much sooner than this. But there were strenuous circumstances that prohibited me from getting to this situation.
Is it
So
that I hardly have ever slept in the last few days?
he laughs. "Yeah, partly, yes. but also there's more to you than meets the eye.
I'll hold up the sword and look for the eye on it that you mentioned.
And you see the form kind of like his head tilts forward and the eye on your sword winks at you.
Creepy.
He says, "Well, now that introductions are done, I'm sure you'll be hearing from me more often."
What should I call you?
And he just drops the communication. You just go like you wake up like no, you don't wake up, but like you find yourself back in your trance in the corporeal body.
Well, that was weird.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to tell anybody about that in the camp when that happens.
That's good. Okay. So with that, we continue our trip to Elturel. Is there anything anybody needs to anything that anybody would like to share? Anything that you want to tell about your character, anything like that at this moment, or no?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Awesome.
Yep, I'm good as well.
So all of that happened to you, Acer, 2 nights before you got to Elturel. And when you wake up the next day, you sorry, and I guess I should have said 3 nights before Elturel. So there's one more night, and then you get to Elturel. 2 nights? Yeah, 2 nights. So one night where you got that, there'll be another night, and then we go to you will get to Elturel on that third day.
Okay.
So you wake up the next day and you feel a little bit more energized, like you have more power than you used to before. And but the rest of the traveling day goes on without any problems or any hitches. Um and as we get to like the next night, like the day right before you're gonna get to Elturel, everybody's going to sleep. You're taking care of watches and looking at everything. And as you're falling asleep, Bumpy, as you're falling asleep, you hear in your mind, and it's like you hear in your mind, and you just hear this voice that just says, um, y- hold on, I need to figure out. Hold on 1 second. Let me look at my notes.
Sure, dude.
One second. So as you're going to bed, Bumpy, you hear in your mind, you hear something like a voice says, "Hello, Bumpy. I hope you find yourself in the most optimum time of the day and ready for some wonderful sleep. Please allow me to help you. I will just tell you a story of the most beautiful, beautiful vampire had I ever met."
Vampire, huh?
Ah,
I didn't say that out loud. I'm just thinking. Sorry.
oh yeah, and the voice just continues, and it like clears its voice. It says, "When I met him, there were only 3 things I knew for certain. He was the most beautiful creature I knew. He was a vampire, and that he would one day kill me." And then it continues on, like this story continues on for like at least like 3 or 4 minutes, and then after like 3 or 4 minutes of this whole thing, of this voice just talking in your head, it just says, "Well, we will continue this soon. I hope you sleep well." And it goes away.
Oh, Lord. I finally done lost my goddamn mind.
um, and so on the third day, on the third day, as we're walking around, we're coming across the hills. We've been following kind of like the river that if you're looking at the um if you're looking at the map, right? Like this is kind of like the river that I'm marking right there. So we're following the river. And as we get closer and closer to El Terrell, this is kind of like, I'm not saying that this view comes out of nowhere. I'm just saying this is what you see. But this is kind of like the city of El Terrell.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and so it's a very, very, very big city. It has anywhere between like when I looked at things, it had anything anywhere between 17,000 and 33,000 people. So we're
Oh,
just gonna
God.
assume that it has about 25,000. And it's encrusted like right there at the very top, and it has the river coming across and everything. Um, but and everybody can see it, right? I didn't mess up on the settings for this picture.
No, I see
Oh,
it.
Yeah, look great.
Okay, cool.
yeah,
I was
giant
like, I
castle on a
always
hill,
mess
bro.
up these things. Good. Okay. I always mess up these things. I'm like, oh God.
Oh, you're getting better at it.
Yeah, you're killing
Awesome.
it.
Um, and so you walk and make your way to Elturel, and it takes you majority of the afternoon or the morning to get there. And about early afternoon, you get to like the entrance of the city with a massive, massive gate, and there's a lot of foot traffic coming in and out. There's people, for the most part, they are all uh, humans coming in and out, doing uh, a lot of oh crap, the word eludes my head. Uh, they're just merchants. There we go. That's just what we're gonna go with. But you have a lot of heavy foot traffic coming in and out with merchants, people going out with carts, people coming in with carts. Um, you see a few elves and dwarfs and gnomes, including a couple of Goliaths around. Like, but they're not as many as you would have thought. Um, and as you get closer and closer, kind of to the gate, you see that there's a line of people, and there's kind of like a couple of guards that they're very they're asking you to state your business kind of situation as you walk in, but they don't seem like they're on edge or anything's too crazy. You just see them stating the business, doing a very quick search through your belongings a little bit, and then just letting you in. And so you get to the line and you see a couple of people, and they're like, there's a guard there with like with a little clipboard, because we all know that Acer loves clipboards. And this one has and so he has a clipboard right there, and he's making a couple of notes, and then you hear him say, uh, "Name and business," and the person responds a little bit, and you can't make it out of the craziness, but the guard is being very loud, so everybody kind of like, when you go to the airport and like TSA yells at everybody.
Oh.
It's kind of like that. Like the guards are very loud. They want everybody to be prepared for when it's their turn, but the people themselves, you can't really make out what they're saying. But you hear the person like respond something. He says like, "Okay, great. That sounds like a great idea. Thank you. Yeah, we just got to look through your stuff for a little bit." And so they kind of like poke around, they move, they shake a couple of things out of the containers that this person has, and then they let them in. And other people are coming in and saying business, right? Like, what's your business? Um, it keeps going until the people right in front of you are there, and it's a family of four, like two people, like a guy, a girl, and like two kids. And the guy says, "Name and business," and you hear the guy kind of looks at him and says like, "The name is Paul Cutter, and yeah, our village got attacked not too long ago, and we're here to stay a couple of nights and seek an audience with uh, somebody who could possibly help us." And he seems very like he doesn't look scared, he doesn't seem scared, he's just very like you just tell he's very shy. Yeah. And the guard says, "Oh, your village has been attacked. Oh, yeah, we have gotten a lot of reports about this lately. Well, let us tell you, I think the best thing we can do at this moment is we have a place for refugees. So you come here. Hey, Edgar." And like another guy, like guard, like trots up and says, "Yes, sir. What can I do? Listen, Paul. This is Paul Cutter. Paul and his family are here. They seem to be refugees. You know what to do with them. Take him inside, and you'll take him to, and they'll take care of you, Mister Cutter. You're in Elturel's hands right now. We will have to make a couple of things, a couple of reports, and fill out a little bit of paperwork, but we should be able to help you sooner rather than later." And they kind of like usher them in, and then your group of four comes in. So a dwarf, a half elf, a human, and a half orc kind of like walk up to the door, to the gate, and the guard, he's like, name and business. He looks up. He looks at Bumpy, and he goes up, and then he's like just turning up, looking at From, who like kind of like towers over this guy. He just looking up, and he's not scared, but he's definitely not expecting this.
I just smile at him.
And I'm gonna say we're defenders of Greenest.
Oh, greenest. And sorry. So From, when you smile at him, he kind of smiles at you meekly, like, "Eh." and and as soon as Bumpy like takes over, he looks relieved and looks at Bumpy and says like, "Oh, greenest," and like flips the pages on his board a little bit, and he says like, "Oh, well, they were attacked a couple of weeks, a couple of like 2 days ago. We have reports of this." Ooh,
And it's true. They were nearly leveled to the entire ground. The
Yeah,
city
we-
needs a lot of help. They need food, water, medical supplies, and most of all,
Are-
protection.
are you all here for uh like seeking asylum and protection as well?
Indeed.
Oh, you are. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And so he looks up again and he says, Mary, Mary, come over here. And this girl comes in. She doesn't have a lot of armor on her. He looks to be more like a squire at this point. And Mary comes in. She's like, yes, my lord, what can I do? And she says, well, listen, we have these 4 people here. Sorry, I didn't quite catch your names. What was your names again? And he flips all the pages to the front one.
Bumpy.
It's
Should we give him like a group name? Is that what he's looking for, or is he looking for the individual names?
oh, he
Do
just
we,
asked
do
for
we like
names.
combine our names together like Bradgelina? You know? like a thruple name or
I
something?
don't think our names combined would roll off as nicely as Bradgelina.
Oh, it makes it so much worse. It'd be so funny.
Is it like Bekrambe?
Yeah, something like that.
Like Bumpy, Acer, Crom, Gray? Bekrambe?
I love it.
How do you spell this? Will you put it on the chat just so I can get an idea of how to say
Okay.
this? That's really funny. Big Crompe. Sure. So
No.
so so you say Big Crompe, and the guy looks like confused, and he says, "Yeah. Would you mind spelling that for me?"
We'll say no. Just take. There's no way this is our actual name, right?
I mean, I'm gonna let you do whatever shenanigan. Like, I'm not gonna get in the way of you having fun.
Yeah,
You have whatever fun you want.
I just snort when you say that.
Whose suggestion was it to Brad
And so
our
Gray,
names?
so Gray kind of like walks
I
up, and
blame
he's like,
myself.
and Gray like stands forward, and he says, "Look, it's BAEKROMPAY, Big Crompe, Big Crompe. It's okay. We'll come up with something better." And the guy like writes it furiously and says like, "Okay, well, yeah, sure, that's okay. Well, Mary, take these guys. We'll take them to," and he flips the pages a little bit, and he's like, "Take them to shelter F. That seems like that one has the best possibilities." Um, and Mary kind of like just looks at y'all and says like, okay, yeah, sure. Big Crompe, yeah. Follow me. Come on this way." And she kind of like turns around and starts going into the city. At which point, so this is kind of like what the city looks like.
I was gonna say
Um,
we should have told him that we're going to a bar, because a dwarf, an elf, a human, and a Goliath
And a
all
half
walk
orc.
into a bar.
And the
Right.
bartender says.
Okay, so we are coming in kind of like yeah, we'll make more squares. We're coming in this way. Oh, way too much. But we're coming in here through the outer city and the lower city because we were kind of like hugging the river as we came up. And so this is kind of like the entrance where we're coming from.
We can't see it. We can still see the mountainside, Elturel.
Yep.
Oops. I did not click activate. I clicked view. So the one time that I need to click activate, I click view scene. And every other time that I just need to view a scene, I click activate and ruin the surprises. Good job, Vargas.
You're still doing great. Big
Okay.
Compay approved.
So big Crompé approved. Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of like the general area of where we're coming from, and so she kind of walks you in, and like you're navigating the cities. I mean, the city's pretty big. It has people. It's hustling and bustling. You can clearly tell that this is the. Well, let's see. Hold on, Bumpy. You grew up in Mithril Hall.
Uh-huh.
So you would know what a big city kind of looks like. Acer, you grew up in a camp, and then um we have not played your backstory fully yet, but would you have grown up more like a smaller village kind of situation or like a bigger city?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a nomad plains, but also being, ex-military. I've
Okay.
seen, towns and cities. I just,
Yep.
never really lived in them or anything.
Awesome. No, that helps. So as we're walking, Bumpy, you know what this is, the area of the city. Like obviously the name Lower City is not like Las Vegas, right? Like they're not displaying Lower City all over the place, but this is kind of like the cheaper part of the town, right? Where people who don't have a lot, like the nobility is not here. But also like it doesn't look like a shanty town. Like it's not like you have like the super low people and then like you cross the street and it's like the mega rich. It looks like the wealth in this place, it seems to be at least um decently separated. And and as you're walking through, you kind of like are passing like you pass blacksmiths, your general stores, you pass people who are selling on the streets, just like they're selling little knickknacks here and there. You pass people who are just having a good day, eating food, going out. You pass a couple of taverns, you pass all these crazy things. And one of the things that uh you notice, if I can get this correctly. Um, and so all the way through, you're going to what is what's called the I don't remember the letter. I think it was F. But anyways, they're taking you to like where all the people who are in need of help are, right? Coming in from like these places that have been destroyed, and and as you're passing all these places, you see some more military guards kind of like walking by and thing. In your case, Bumpy, since you grew up in a big city, you are used to seeing some form of uh, military around town. But this time, this seems to have a little bit more military than what you would assume a town of this size would have, or a city of this size would have.
Okay.
Um, and then when you get to this place, uh, you seem to be the only group that's coming into this place. There's people inside. It's a bigger, kind of like a warehouse with cots and beds, and there's a big area kitchen for food. And the people there seem very helpful. They're just kind of like, oh, yeah, we're here to take in anybody and help them in any way we can, right? And when you get to there, Maria just kind of looks at you and says, "Well, uh, this is where you're gonna be. Please, here's a kitchen. There's a couple of bedrooms. Um, here, my friend, and I really want to use the name Ember because Wesley keeps making fun of me for using Ember all the time. So I really just want to use that name for that.
It's a common
Um,
name in
it's
Favorite.
it is it's a very common name. Um, and so, but she says, "Listen, my friend here," and she says, John, please." And then so John kind of walks around. He seems to be a uh, gentleman in about, I would say, like his 60s. He's older, has a little has a cane even though he doesn't use it. Um like a lot of like his his skin is weathered, and he's an older man with like white, like almost all white hair with streaks of black. And he comes around and he says like, "Yes, Maria, how can I help you?" She says, "Well, we have a couple of refugees, and they told us to get them here, but my duties as a squire are kind of like important, so I'm afraid I have to leave them without finishing tour. Is that okay? Can you take care of it?" And John says, "Yeah, I could gladly take care of this. To go take care of your business." And she looks at all of you and says, "Well, Bicrampe," and at which point, like, you see on the background, like, John kind of like tilt his head, like, the fuck did she said? But she says, "Bicrampe, it was great to meet y'all. I hope y'all find Elturel to your liking. Um, and we just ask that you don't get into trouble in any way, shape, or form. And this is not just directed at you. We're saying this to everybody. We're in time of need, and all these villages keep getting attacked. Please, please, please don't cause any trouble in the city. We greatly appreciate that. And with that, have a wonderful day." And she kind of like takes off.
Cool.
Um, and John kind of like steps up and says, "So, well," and he looks at you all like up and down and all around, if you will, uh, and he says, "Well, I've been doing this for a couple of days now, or sorry, for a couple of years now, taking in different people and helping out the less needy, and y'all, your group does not strike me as people that are refugees." And he kind of eyes at your weapons and everything. He says, "So, why are you in this town?"
We're needy, but not in the sense of normally needy. We're needy in that we need things. In that we're looking for someone specific. And
Okay.
I'll bring out the pin that my character doesn't know what it does, and I'll do a quick because I wouldn't know that it's like super secretive, or if it is super secretive, like I wouldn't have any idea about that, right?
Not because of where you grew up. No.
Like to me, this is just some symbol that
Pin.
some guy
Yep.
gave, and it's like, we're looking for people who associate with this. One of our friends told us that their friends are here, and if their friends are our friends, then our friends are their friends. And we're friends with all.
And suddenly I just want to sing "You Got a Friend in Me."
It's the transitive property of friendship.
I
it's
love
a
it.
trans-
I love it.
Awesome. He grabs the pin and bites it. "No, I don't know about this pin, buddy, but if you're looking for, listen, I'm just gonna be real. There's about 25,000 people in the city, so finding one person in particular may be pretty tough."
Well, he's got a really weird name. His name's Onthar. What do you think about that?
Oh my God, Onthar!
Yep. Send
I
us to him, buddy.
absolutely know it. He's like, "There is not a single person out here that does not know Onthar. This
Well,
is great."
I'll turn
it's
to
a
Bumpy and
really,
give
it
him
is
a
a
look.
matter of life and death that we talk to this guy.
And he's there. Acer, what were you saying?
I'll just say I kind of turned to Gray or to Bumpy and just kind of give him a look, like, "Wow, I should have started with that."
Yeah. Oh, my bad.
No, you're
I'm
good.
trying to-
You're good.
I'm trying to play his shitty ass charisma.
That's perfect. And I would not, I grew up in a village of like 300 to 500 people, so this is all
Fair
kind
enough.
of new to me. You're doing great.
I think my favorite part is the guy saying, "You're not gonna find one person in this city," and the second you say his name, he was like, "I totally know who this person is." So, anyways,
Fucking A.
I am playing this the city as it is need to be played, though. I'm not just making shit up. But anyways,
You're
so
badass.
he says, "Oh, a matter of life or death." Well, Onthar has been he's a very busy man, and he's been looking at he's been really looking into like all of those attacks around. So, well, listen.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can bring him a message, and I'll sit in building F or whatever until he gets it. There's a black
Oh,
dragon that's been spewing his name and making threats against him. So unless he wants a black dragon flying over his house, he's going to want to talk to us really soon.
well, listen, um,
I'm being honest with you. He's in
oh, I
serious
know.
danger. We just want to protect this man.
To clarify, that's not a threat from us or Bumpy. That's just what we've encountered. He's he's a dwarf.
Yeah, look, we ran the bastard off trying to
I
protect
think,
Onthar. So,
I,
but I'm
I
afraid he
think,
might come back.
I think my problem is that I don't really know your name, but so, how may I address you?
When he says
Or
that, I'll say we're Bekrampe. That's Bumpy. I'm Acer. This is Crom, and that's Gray. Bekrampe.
Big Cromp. Oh, okay. Well, I heard Bumpy. That's a really easy one to remember. Bumpy. And I'm assuming you're pointing at people as you say
Yeah.
who they are. And he looks at you, Bumpy. He says, Listen, Bumpy. uh, The problem here," and then he looks at Crom and just kind of like he's finally like taking in how tall and muscled you are. And he's like, he listens. He's like, the problem here is that Arthur is a really busy guy, and he's not going to come to our warehouse. Now, I can gladly take you to him,
That's great.
Yep,
but
lead the way.
okay, awesome. And then he says, just hold off for 5 minutes, and we'll go from here. Okay, just
Amen.
wait. And so he goes away and disappears for a couple of minutes, and then comes back about 4 or 5 minutes later. And when he comes back, he says, "Okay, well, I have left everything, all the accommodations. So come on, follow me. We're gonna go this way." And so he starts taking you down like the roads, like the streets of Elturel. And as he's walking around, he says, "Okay, so," and as he's walking, right, he says, "So you mentioned a black dragon spewing Onthar's name, and that y'all helped him."
No, no, no. We ran the bastard off. He was going to try to kill us.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Okay. Well, like you're talking about like a full-fledged dragon, like
Full on,
wings and
brother.
everything.
And a blue one, too.
Oh
The,
my
bl-
goodness.
the blue one blew up half a greenest.
Well, this is terrifying. I thought we had seen the shadow of the dragon, but oh my god. Okay. Well, it's okay. Anthar will take care of us. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Um, and with that, he kind of like picks up the pace a little bit faster, and as he's making his way, you I'm trying to figure out the name of this place where they take you. And so he takes you. So you started kind of like down here in the lower city, um, and then around this area was kind of like I just moved the square in the map, but like around this area is kind of like where the warehouse F was, and then they're kind of like walking you past the lower city, and you're moving and to about this general area, kind of like here where I just moved the square to. And when you get to there, you get to a tavern. Now, like the buildings surrounding this tavern are very militaristic looking. They seem to have you've seen around like kind of like the glove, like a lot of these places display like a gloved hand, like a not like a real hand, but like an armor gloved hand, like your what is that called? Your
Like a gauntlet?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Okay.
But it has kind of like a gauntlet just standing like this, and it's blue in design, and it's kind of like put in a couple of different places on all these buildings. And the tavern here is called a Pair of Black Antlers. And
Huh?
uh and as you get to the Pair of Black Antlers, um, you hear from the inside like it's a little bit crazy. People are clearly having a decently good time. Um, and it is at this point that the gentleman opens the door. John opens the door and says, "All right, well, you'll find Arthur in there. He's more than likely just the dwarf in the corner. Just you can't miss him. He's bald, has a little
Oh, he's
cut
a
in his
dwarf?
eye. He's absolutely a dwarf, man. I hope you'll have a great time. I have to go back to my business, but guys, Good luck.
But John,
And,
wait a moment. Just one moment, please.
okay.
This dwarf, where does he hail from? Is he from Mithril Hall?
Uh, I know he has been before, but I don't think that's where he hails from. Uh, but I do think he has been to Mithril Hall a couple of times. Him and a buddy of his have been to Mithril Hall plenty of times. What was? I'll tell you what. I don't remember what his buddy's name was, but yeah, I'm gonna tell you, like that buddy of his, he could scrap like no other. But that you'll see when you go inside. You'll see how this looks. But yeah, that buddy of his, he could scrap like no other. He could fight. He could take anybody down. Oof, mean little dwarf. Never been against him. I promise you.
At this point, I'll turn to Bumpy, and I'll say, given your people's propensity for naming, I bet his name is Scrappy, isn't it?
Something similar. That sounds about right. Might be Oin, Moin, Gloin, or Doin. One of those. Very straight to the point.
And so John's like, okay, well, good luck. And he takes off, or so he kind of like he's opened the door for y'all to go in, and
All right.
so he opens the door, and as soon as the door opens, hold on one second. When you walk into the pair of black antlers, you notice that a lot of the people here are wearing armor, and they're more of like on the militaristic side of things. The tavern stinks of. It's a very hot day, so it smells like sweat and ale, and people drinking and food, and all of these things have combined to make an atmosphere that, as much as you would think it would make you like uncomfortable with like the different smells, it feels very homey and very welcoming. Although it is a little bit of a pungent on I guess you first walk in. But for the most part, it somehow it just adds to it just adds to this place, right? On
Really
the
quick,
back, like
on a
behind. Go ahead.
on a scale of 1 to anime convention, how pungent is it?
Huh?
Ooh, like a 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's not crazy. It's just what I mean about it is just I wanted to make sure that like people are hot and they're still wearing armor and they're still moving around, so there's sweat coming out, people.
I gotcha.
But it's not like they haven't showered. It's just busy.
Sounds good.
And so there's a band playing. There's a couple of other things happening, and behind like in the main tavern, you see the bar, and there's a couple of barkeeps kind of like moving around and getting drinks and doing all these things, and above them, on top of them, um, what's really weird is like they have like the head of this moose, and it's a ginormous head of a moose, but the antlers are fully black, and they're just like kind of hanging behind everything, and then the drinks are there are right underneath it. And these people are just getting all the drinks going, and all the patrons. There's people coming in and out of the kitchen, which is on the side. Um, as you're kind of like making your way through this, you even hear a couple of the people walk around, and they're like, "Huh, an outhouse inside the house. Oh, this is fancy for the first time. Like, I wonder what all they do and how they." And then you lose part of the conversation because they just keep. Um. Uh. And how about y'all do a perception roll for me? Oh, I should put your characters on the bottom of the screen so it was easier to roll. I'm gonna do that.
I think I'm making a mistake. Okay, there it goes. Gotcha.
Are we rolling for anything exciting?
Just perception at this moment
I'll join in.
to see. Yeah, please do.
I perceive
Awesome.
nothing.
Well, I'm gonna put your characters down here on the map, I think, if I can do it. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna put the characters there because I think it's easier to roll if you can just click on your token. So let me go ahead and do that. You are not drowning, I promise. Okay. And so yeah, Aether, as you're scanning the crowds and the people, you kind of like get a little bit reminiscent about your town and how like the good old days of whenever you were in your town. So you kind of like stop paying attention of like the specific people and you're just looking at the atmosphere. Prom, you're looking around and looking and your eyes like kind of get like they dart onto like the massive moose that's like by the bar, like atop the bar with like the black antlers, and you're just kind of like in awe at how big this thing must have been, like fully for somebody to have taken it down. As for Bumpy and Gray, as you're scanning the crowd and everything, you see that in the back corner there seems to be a circle of people sitting down, and you recognize back there that Leosin is sitting there in a bar, and right next to him there's a dwarf with bald head, a cut on his eye, a full red beard going, and they just seem to be like they're lost in conversation. And Gray turns to everybody and says, "Hey guys, I think that one. Do you see Leosin back there on the corner? That must be Leosin and Onthar. We should probably just go up and talk to them."
Well, if I meet another dwarf without a drink in my hand, then I'll never hear the end of it back at Mithril Hall. So I'm going to go grab some spirits and bring it to the table.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Do you need some help?
No, I got this.
Any dwarf worth of salt is worth carrying his drinks.
Oh yeah, and I've got a lot of salt.
Do you just get loaded up like one of those? I think it's in Germany in Oktoberfest where they have like the bar maiden carrying beer competition or something.
That's exactly right.
They just have like 72 like pints all stacked on each other, and they're seeing who can carry the most.
Yup.
Except you're like
Jesus.
3.5 feet tall.
4.5, goddammit.
Oh, my bad.
All right, so look, I'm gonna go get 6 mugs, right? The 4 of us, and then Leosin and Onthar.
There's no one else at that table, right? Just those two, or are there other people?
No, it's just those two.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell the bartender that Leosin is paying.
Jesus.
Well, because he is. We saved his goddamn life.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he owes us a
Okay.
drink at least.
So you walk up there, and this like little gnome girl was just kind of like cleaning a glass, and as you walk up to her, and she says, "I'm gonna help you."
I need 6.
That's for you, Bumpy.
Okay, I need 6 on the elf.
The elf? There's a lot of elves around here, and she's looking around.
I'm gonna point at him. That one right there.
Oh, that one. I understand. She winks at you and says, like, "Got you." And she just kind of like grabs like 6 mugs and just pour them all up and hands them to you and says, like, "All right, do you need some help?"
No, got it.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds great. And so as everybody else walks up to Leosin and Onthar, and you're getting closer, you just hear like the biggest belly laugh from Onthar. Like he like tilts back, belly laughter, and as you do that, you see that little gauntlet symbol that you've seen around the town. Like you see it like on his armor, and it's just kind of like sitting there. And he smacks Leosin on the back, and you just hear him yell, "I can't believe you got captured, you fool! How Oh, crazier things have never happened in my life. This is hilarious. And it is at that moment that you pull up to the table, and he looks at you and says, "May I help you?"
I'm gonna set the drinks down. I'm gonna be like, we should finish these first, then we can talk. What news from Mithril Hall?
Um, and he looks at the drinks and says, 6 drinks, 6 people. Oh, my kind of dwarf and my kind of party. This is great. Mithril Hall, I'll tell you what, I have not been there in a little bit, haven't had time. These are really busy times between. Well, you said we would drink first, so drink first. And he
Indeed.
like reaches out and grabs his tankard and basically just downs the entire thing in one go, and like uses his gauntlet to just kind of like wipe it off and says, this is good. At which point Leosa looks at all of you and says, "You're back."
All right, and
You
so are
know,
you.
I can't believe it. Like I knew that y'all wouldn't be taken down so easily, but I didn't think you would make it here so quickly either. And he looks at you, Crom, specifically, and says, "In fact, Crom, thank you so much for walking us all the way out of the camp. It really proved a big difference on us making it out of there safely, but also being able to, get to where we are now."
I just nod my head at him.
Okay, and he'll say, "Yeah, the people made it out back to Greenest. Everything looks good, and I made my way here as soon as I'd finished. Um, man, this is what and he turns to Anthar and says, "Anthar, these are the people. These are the guys I was telling you about. That they kind of rescued me and they liberated all these other people, and then they went into the cave to investigate. So please catch me up. What happened? What was there?
Can we give
Like,
him
what was
like
this
a
cave all about?"
kind of a full rundown of everything we've done and experienced, and make sure to highlight the 5-headed statue and the notes and stuff that we found, as well as the map that Bumpy has.
Uh-huh.
We'll relay all that. We'll relay about the dragon eggs that got destroyed and then the aftermath. And we'll relay
Okay.
everything that we know about their plan and what they're doing, especially in regards to, I think it was like summoning the Dragon Queen or like getting them back in power. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to check the notes. But basically, we relay all that.
It was
stuff
about
about
it was the there was mention of the Dragon Queen and how to get the dragons back in power. Yes. And as you relay all of your story to both of these people, you see Anthar and Leosin kind of like deep in thought a little bit more. It says, "Okay, so man, this is a lot." And Anthar kind of chips in and says, "Indeed it is, but well, so here's where we are. You happen to know almost, well, I guess with all the information you have given us, you have as much information as we do in this cult. So from what we have," and he pulls out, and Anthar seemed to be ready for a conversation, right? So he kind of like pulls out like from under the table like a big bag and kind of reaches around and pulls out a paper with scribble of one of the symbols that y'all have found across your travels, which is like the 5 claw marks coming down, right? He says, "Well, so here's kind of what we have so far. These people, they don't necessarily have a name, and they don't necessarily, we don't really need to know what to call them. We just kind of call them the dragon cult at this point. If you're getting fancy, we call them the purple dragon cult, and all we know is that they have some deep ties into dragons somehow, and that they can also get dragons to kind of do their bidding a little bit or help them out in some way.
Well, I don't
We
know.
don't. Go ahead.
We really pissed off one of the dragons, a black dragon. Now, I don't think they've seen us specifically, but they might also have seen us. I'm not sure, but that's the dragon's eggs that we had destroyed.
Hmm.
So maybe they're less likely to do bidding. I don't know, but these are maybe something to consider.
That you're not wrong. There may be a rift that's happening there of some sort. You are right. Well, as I was with that being said, we don't really have more knowledge about these people except for the fact that they have been around for longer than we think. A couple of, and then at this point, Leosin kind of takes over and he says, "Yeah, so my sources have told me, and they have been able to acknowledge that a cult such as this one has existed throughout the centuries by now, and up until 5 years, up until about 15 years ago, this cult or group or whatever you would like to call them seem to be more interested in reviving dragons and finding a way to make them be everlasting in the hopes that such dragons would give themselves everlasting life. It's a process for bringing a dragon back to life and making them. It's the same as he looks around a little bit and he says, "It's about the same process as what the red wizards do when they become leeches. I don't know if it's leeches or liches or however you
Lich.
say it,
Lich,
but
yeah.
but it's about the same process that you would do for liches, but it's for dragons, and they have been successful in the past. They were able to bring two, as they call them in the ancient stories. I say ancient because for some people are not as far lived as me. And he looks at Gray specifically and says, but in the ancient stories for your people, Rogue or Gray, it would be what we call a Draco Lich. And they were successful to bring a couple back, and then they were luckily defeated and brought back into, and those Draco Liches were destroyed. But as we were saying, about 15... It may be longer than that. We don't have... Yeah, it may actually have been 20 years by now. But it seems like their plans have been in motion for a while. And we don't know what their ultimate goal is at this particular moment. The idea of the five-headed statue and all five colored dragons working together seems very interesting. I'm pretty sure we could have some people go and search Candlekeep and see if they can investigate anything, but regardless of that, their
Really-
goals seem to have changed.
Really quick, over the table,
Hmm?
is Candlekeep something that we would know about or know
Yes.
of?
Yeah, you would have an idea from traveling. You would know. I think out of everybody, probably Bumpy may have the most knowledge of it because he lived, like, again, living in a bigger city, you hear about these bigger places more. But you wouldn't, like, both Crom and Acer would know that Candlekeep is a place of knowledge.
Well, Candlekeep is specifically in my backstory as the place I was searching out.
Absolutely, yes.
Yep.
And so this
Yes.
dwarf is saying that they're going to send someone to Candlekeep to find out more information?
That's what Leosin was saying, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm good then. You can continue. Thank you.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess this is all we can do now. With the information that you have brought us, I have a couple of things to take care of. It would be my pleasure to meet with you tomorrow so we can we can discuss a little bit more what the future of this looks like. And it's at this point when Leosin says this that Onther says, "Well, hold on. Hang on. I'll get us one more round, and then you can leave. And looks at Leosin. And he gets up and goes to get another round of drinks for everybody. And when he leaves, Leosin kind of turns to you guys and says, "Listen, I know Onthar can be a little bit rough around the edges, but I think he'd be a very, very good ally for you to have. He and I have worked for years together, and so I think that it would be very beneficial if you could also become his friend outside of him knowing you through me."
What does that entail?
I don't know. How do you make friends?
Well, so far I've told them that I think their profession's cool, and they ran. So I don't know.
Oh, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. I believe in you.
If it's
One of your
anything
friends.
like this one, and I'll point to Bumpy, all I have to do is have my ancestors or my relatives by, race, whatever you want to call that, enslave him for 50 years. And I'll kind of nudge Bumpy like, yeah, right? We're friends, huh?
I'll smirk about it.
And Leosin says, I don't think we have time enough for that, but you'll know what to do. I'm pretty sure an opportunity will present itself. And at this point, Onthar comes back and says, "All right, well, one more drink, and then the elf can go, and the party can really begin." And he kind of elbows you a little bit, Crom, and says, "What do you think? I think I could probably beat you on putting some drinks back. What do you think, big guy?"
I just chuckle at him.
And so, everybody kind of gets their next drink and says, and then he just yells very loudly, just puts his cup up in the air. So it's like, "We're ready for the next round." And Leosin gets up and takes his leave. The next round of drinks come in, and as you're getting these drinks and getting to kind of talk with Onthar after Leosin leaves. 2 minutes later, another group of a human and a dwarf and somebody else kind of comes in and joins the table, and these people seem they're ready to party, and so Onthar says, "Okay, guys, well, we have newcomers here. They're not part of our group, but they're with me tonight. So we're doing." And he looks at you guys and says, "Who's up for some arm wrestling? Anybody? Arm wrestling?"
I'll take up on that.
"Oh, I kind of knew you would take me up on that. What are you thinking, my... well, I'm not from Mithril Hall, I know that. But what about you? You're from Mithril Hall. I'm assuming that's what you were asking about them, right?"
Indeed.
"Oh, would you like to partake and join in our wonderful arm wrestling competition?"
What kind of dwarf would I be if I turned down a night of fun like that, yeah?
"Ah, yes, we have 3 in. What about you guys?" And there's 4 more guys there, and all 4 kind of raise their hand. It says, okay, so that's 7. Well, what about you, Elf? Would you like to participate? I mean, you look kind of... let me see how strong. Yeah, you don't look like you have tons of muscle, but you may be good. Would you like to participate on some arm wrestling?
I'm wrestling an elf. Look at you. You're a wild
Hey.
one. You're a wild
Hey.
one.
Once you've been out in the streets, sometimes you just gotta arm wrestle whoever you can. The great stories come from them. You always know.
Oh yeah, you have plenty of stories to tell.
Oh, I do.
I won't tell anyone back home. I'll keep it secret.
Okay, please do. Don't. You could
Just so long
steal
as you
some
don't
of
tell
my
them I'm
stories if
traveling
you
with
really.
this one.
Yes, that'll be great. So, Elf, are you in or not?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, great. All right. So, they kind of everybody gets up and you line up the table. It was kind of in the corner, so you kind of push it out a little bit and then sit 4 people on one side and 4 people on the other. So we have a total of 8. and like Onthar sits on one of the seats, like really confidently. He's like, "All right, who's ready to lose?" Do any of y'all want to? I'm not encouraging you to take Onthar. I'm just asking if
I'll take him. That's
any of
fine.
y'all. Okay. And I should have done this earlier, so let me go ahead and do it now. Give me 1 second. So, just for memories, this is Leosin. That's what he looks like. And I'm gonna go ahead and do Onthar, so you know what Onthar looks like.
And Leosin has already gotten up and walked away, right?
Yeah, he already left. Yeah. So that's Onthar right there.
And that's the blue fist symbol
Yeah,
we've seen.
the blue gauntlet that you've seen.
So being familiar with with the area, would we understand that that's helm? Like the helm symbol, the upraised gauntlet?
Yeah.
Or does it not have the eyeball?
It does not have the eyeball, but if you do a religion check, and this is for anybody who would well, hold on 1 second. Let me make sure that I'm giving you the right information. 1 second.
Okay. I didn't know if it would be common knowledge or not, but if it's not, I'm happy to roll.
Yeah. So religious. How about this? I'll give if you do a religion check, and the DC is not super high, you can know where the symbol's from.
Gotcha. There you
And
go.
anybody who wants to do it
Cool.
can do it. Oh, damn. Yeah, so this is a symbol of Form, the god of heroics and bravery. Yeah, the DC wasn't so super high, so all three of y'all get it. That this is like I said, is a symbol of the god Torm, Torm.
Cool.
And he's the god of heroics and bravery.
Are you a paladin or a cleric of some type?
Ha! Paladin, my boy. Paladin all the way. Me and my god Torm, we will always defend the weak. Now, put it out
Nice.
there.
I like it. Prepare to be shown this week, and I'm gonna put my arm up.
Okay. So, go ahead and just roll a. I'm guessing this would be. Yeah. I'm guessing we're gonna make it athletics.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, athletics would be it. And
Oh,
then-
not my best day. Ha 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 ha.
Let me make sure that I can do this. Hold on. Where is athletics? Here it is. I'll make it public too, so you know. Oh man, you'll both roll at 10.
Hi.
So you kind of like start moving your hands, and you're like, oh, like both of you are kind of just trying to knock each other out, and after like I don't know about a minute or so of doing this,
I'll just let out a fart.
so you let out a fart, and everybody laughs, and Onthar also laughs, and you go and just beat him because he's laughing so hard.
I cheated.
He goes like, "Don't blow a fuse over there." Well played. It was okay. Who's next? And this really big. He's a. He would be a Goliath comes and says, he's like, "I'll go next. I got this." And he kind of like sits down and puts his arm up, just waiting for whoever wants to take him on.
I'll step up.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so go ahead and roll. Like we'll do the same athletics. Oops. Let's see what we roll.
Ooh.
That's hilarious. That's funny. So like this guy who looks like kind of meek and a little bit just there. He's like, I can do this. And then you both start going at it. And like about 5 to 7 seconds in, Prom just kind of like you see his muscles just bulge and get bigger and everything. And it's like boom! And like the Goliath's hand just goes and it goes to the side and he's like, oh, I like you. You are very, and he puts his hand out and he says, my name is Greg. What's yours?
Hey, Greg, my name's Chrome.
Crumb. I will be back with your drink. You deserve it. He comes and he goes away to get a drink. And now like a human comes and he's like, okay, well I'm ready to take somebody on. And he looks at you, Acer, and says like, are you ready to go, or do I need to find somebody else?
No, let's go.
Okay, well let's do this. So same thing. We'll roll. We'll roll. First time I rolled decently on this. Oh, that was almost a 16.
Dang.
But yeah, so you've battled it out. You just kind of like play with it a little bit, and he eventually, after a couple 30 seconds or so, he just kind of like takes you down. He's like, yes, this is how it's done. At which point, Ontharan like elbows bumpy. He says like, look at the human thinking he's all that big because he defeated the elf.
Oh, well, he gave it a shot. Not everyone can be a dwarf.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's
And,
good in a fight, though.
I'll get
Well-
up from that, and I'll come over to where Anthar is.
Okay.
And if you have more to say, then say it. If not, I'll just say something casually to him. It's not really important at all, though.
Well, he just said that and that was all he had. And he's like, well, this was good. Now, before we continue, I need to take you on. And points at Crumb and says, there's absolutely no way that I can go to bed knowing that I didn't arm wrestle an orc. Because if I win, this is going down for the ages.
I chuckle and I sit down.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and roll the athletics. Oh no. How did that go? Ah, 18, 16. Okay, that's okay. And so, like, again, you kind of like start arm wrestling a little bit, and as it goes, like, Ontar is just putting his all in this thing. He's like, and like he starts kind of moving your hand over, like he may win, and then you're kind of like
my eyes just kind of widen in surprise. I'm like, what the hell?
So your eyes widening in surprise. You're like, what is this? And you get serious and you just kind of like, bam, and smack his hand just like all the way across the other side. And like, and Anthar at this point like gets up and says, oh man, this was awesome, wonderful. This is all that I wanted. Well,
Good play, human. Good play.
yes, this is the best. Well, it's the next time, guys. Now we need to and he kind of like motions his hand again, and more drinks come over to the table, and he says, well, now Leosin kind of told me a little bit of everything that you have done before, but is this the most exciting thing that y'all have done, or are there any other exciting moments in your life? Look, I will start this conversation because clearly nobody else here can top the stories of good old Onther when it comes to bravery and heroics. But, it was about... He kind of looks up for a little bit. Man, it was about 10 years ago, and I was traveling with one of my buddies. We had gone to different places, and on the way back, we kind of got attacked by some ruffians that just wanted to take some dwarfs or whatever mining materials they said that they could take. Ha! Nothing of the sort would ever stop good old Anthar and Scrappy. We would just always take care of business. So we kind of like saw that like once they got into the road, we first decided that we were going to take them on one, and that didn't work out. There were about 6 of them. We were not really paying attention to that, but me and Scrappy, we just decided that we could take care of everything ourselves. So the first guy came in, and without any of our weapons, had dodged, and bam, I connected a hit across his chin, and down he went. While I was doing that, my buddy Scrappy, he just took people down. He took 3 of them in one go. I don't even know what he did. I just remember him going on a knee, throwing a punch, throwing a kick, and headbutting somebody, the third one, and these people just dropped again. It took me a little bit longer to take out the last 2 on my end, but once they were all taken care of, we took them suckers to town and we put them in jail. And it was great because we found out that they had stolen from some of the merchants around town.
By a
Oh,
thief. I take issue with
how
your
dare
story,
they?
friend.
Nobody should ever steal. Say that one more time.
Oh, I said, aye, no one can abide a thief, but I take issue with your story, friend.
With my story? What do you mean?
Indeed. The name, Scrappy. You know
Yes,
this
that
one,
is the
yeah?
name of my friend.
Indeed.
Yes.
The
I've
burnt off
known him.
mark of the drow on the back of his neck, correct?
How do you know that?
Aye. I know the same. He'll vouch for me.
At this point, I'll turn to Grom and I'll say, do all dwarves just know each other?
Aye, we do. We suckle from the same tit.
Sounds dirty.
That's why we live in mountains. They look like tits.
Sorry, I could not keep my face straight after that. He says, "Well, how do you know about the mark of the drow on Scrappy?"
Aye, we've got history, that one and I. Also, he kind of owes me one.
You've got history.
Good history.
And he owes. Wait, hold on. You are the Bumpy?
Aye, the one and only.
How many bumpies do you know?
Well, I'll tell you where I got the name if you buy me another drink.
I will absolutely buy you another drink. I must hear the story. Scrappy has been talking about you for, and he kind of like counts in his fingers, and he says, well, hell, for about 90 years now.
Indeed.
Like, this is unbelievable. Well, let's get another round of drinks. And he gets another round of drinks for everybody.
All right.
So, tell me about your story with Scrappy.
Scrappy and I used to run together back in the day, get ourselves into trouble like young dwarfs do, back when our whiskers were short and our tempers were high. Well, one time I got myself caught, hoping Scrappy escaped, and the damn drow, they tried to hang me. But dummies that they were, they didn't search my body. So as they were hanging me, I pulled up my yang and I pissed in his eye, and he couldn't see. So I cut myself down, split the man's throat. Scrappy and I ran off. But when I fell, I whacked my head on the ground and got a concussion. My ears, my nose were bleeding. And I've got this bump right here behind my hairline. It's gigantic, and I'll grab his hand and put it on it. Hey, that's how I got that concussion when I fell to the ground from hanging. Ever since, my name's been Bumpy.
Oh. Well, you're right. He kind of pushes on the bump a little bit, and he's like, well, with such a bump on your head, Bumpy makes perfect sense.
It's like a goddamn
What
Vulcan
better
living
name
in
could
my
it
skull,
be?
huh?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, listen, Bumpy. You're a friend of Scrappy. I'm a friend of Scrappy. We're all good. in my book with those two things. Well, let me put it, and also Scrappy's not around with us at this particular moment, but he has been searching for you for about 90 years now. So, you just wait until I tell him that I found you.
Well, he's a good friend, but a shit detective. I wasn't that hard to find.
Well, he's had a little bit of a rough life, but I know he'll tell you all about it when you see him. Right now, he's running a couple of errands for me. You know, he and I are part of the same group. So,
Is he a paladin too with you?
he's not a paladin with me, but we both belong to. Let me pull this up.
Belongs to whom? I beg your pardon?
Okay. He says, well, he's not a paladin himself, but we both belong to the Order of the Gauntlet. And he kind of like pulls up his hand in front of his chest and says, and we've been trying to take care of some things together, and we've been assigned multiple missions. We kind of grew up, we went above and through the ranks together when we joined this organization. It's one of the most wonderful organizations to be a part of. And I mean, we just always want justice to triumph in the world. You know, we don't mess around with underhanded or anything. We go out, we do good, we seek justice, and this is what we're all about.
When he
Do you
says
smash things? Oh, sorry, you go first, Wes.
just when he says he seeks justice, I'll kind of perk up at that. I'd like to ask a question, but I don't want to interrupt your flow, so keep going.
Okay. Do you get to smash stuff from time to time? You know, for justice.
Oh, all the time.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Sound like a friend of
right
mine.
now. Yeah, right now. In fact, like that is kind of what Scrappy's been doing. He's out in detail trying to figure out all these people with all of these attacks happening around the town. Or sorry, not around the town, around the area. It's a lot more complicated than that. It's happening in many different places, not just here. So he's gone and taken care of that, but he should be back maybe in a few months at most.
Or maybe I could go find him.
Oh, I'm sure that he would appreciate that.
Do you know where he's at?
Not at this particular moment right now. We lost contact. I don't think anything happened to him. We just haven't been in contact because, well, he's been handling more of the northern side of things above Neverwinter. I've been handling the southern side of things closer to Baldur's Gate, specifically here in Elturel.
I guess my time will wait to live a long life.
Indeed we do. Acer, you had a question?
Yeah, for Anthar. I'll ask him how he got into, I guess, the business of being a paladin. Because, you know, me and my family and my community haven't been super religious, but events in my life have shaped my mind in such a way that I'm at least curious now.
Well, of course, you elf. Let me tell you about it.
I'm a half elf, by the way.
Well, okay.
You'll be pissed to
was
know
not
that half elves no longer exist in the new player's handbook.
I did see that.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that don't exist in the new player's handbook that make me sad.
I know.
My entire class. Or subclass.
That's okay. I'm glad you have your fun, man. Fuck them.
Chrome, you said something? Hold on.
No, I just said.
Okay, sorry. I thought your bubble lit up, and I wanted to make sure I heard what you had said. At which point, so he says, "Well, it's okay. I just couldn't really remember your name, to be honest with you. But what you do is you have to find a cause that you're really interested in, something that you're willing to sacrifice your life for, something that you're willing to do, and then you have to find a deity that kind of supports that, right? You need a little bit of both. It can be one, then the other. It doesn't really matter which one comes first. But once you find the cause that you want and the deity that supports your cause, or you find a cause that supports your deity, you have to go and make an oath with yourself and your deity that will provide you with all the the resources to become a paladin. Or at least that's how I've done it, and all the people I know have done it. But or all the other people that I know as paladins have done it. But that is kind of like the basics of it. Finding a good cause that you're willing to put your oath and swear an oath to in your life.
That seems very interesting. From my knowledge, paladins, you're able to smite your foes. Is this true?
Come to training tomorrow and you'll find out.
What does it feel like, from like a mechanical sense, so to speak, to smite somebody? Does it feel like twisting a knife once you've stabbed it into them? Or what does it feel like?
So hold on, are we going with like 2024 or 2014 rules?
Okay, we'll bypass that because that was just
Oh, I know what it
a
was.
dumb joke. But
we had been talking about that for YouTube. Wesley and I were texting about paladins and smiting, because in the 2014 Player's Handbook, paladins can smite on every attack, but on 2024 it's a bonus action to cast the spell to smite. So,
but
Oh yeah.
in game, I'll be somewhat interested in like the paladin-esque, and I'll be very interested when he says to like find a cause that you kind of devote yourself to. That seems to really pique my interest.
Well, let me tell you about this. Tomorrow, in the Church of the Silver Dragon Bahamut, they are going to be giving. There's a paladin. Sorry, let me rephrase that. In the Church of the Silver Dragon Bahamut tomorrow, there's a paladin taking up his oath to the dragon. So if you're interested in seeing what the ritual looks like, we could go and watch. I have a couple of friends there.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. We'll meet.
Awesome.
We'll meet there then.
Right. Well, we'll meet here probably, because I don't think you know where the Church of the Silver Dragon is in the city, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Great, awesome. So, what about you? Who has a tale of heroics and bravery that rivals and surpasses my own?
When I was a boy, I once beat my captor in the face with a bar of soap and a sock.
With a bar
To
of
earn my
soap and
freedom.
a sock. To
Yeah,
earn your freedom.
Indeed.
Freedom from who?
Well, some of his old folk, but I don't hold it against them anymore. And I play
Oh.
later.
I can see.
Ask
Yes.
Scrappy more about that.
And we will have to ask. Yeah, I will ask Scrappy about that, but that is good. Good. One less evil in this world is wonderful. What about you, half-orc? What are some stories that you may have for us to share about some, heroics that you've done? I wouldn't believe it if you didn't have anything you had, done.
I just kind of look at him.
I'm gonna look at you and say, "Don't be bashful. Tell him about how you slaughtered the half dragon."
I wouldn't call that a heroic deed. That's just everyday killing.
A half dragon you slaughtered. Well, at least
Well,
you
it
gotta
was-
tell me what happened there.
He was a right dirty bastard. Knocked me in the dirt, but this one comes along, chops him clean in two.
Wow. Well, this is wonderful. Wonderful moments. It's at this time that like the night has like gotten very, very dark. Or like, like it's way into the night. He says, well, it seems like we have a couple of things that we should probably talk about tomorrow. I know Leosin's taking care of that. But and he looks at Acer and says, I know you want to see the paladin making his oath. My friend here my friend here, Darius, will take you to do that. And Darius is the the guy who you arm wrestle, and Darius says, "Yes, sir. I'll go with Acer to get to look at the oath the oath that the paladin will be making," and then Arthur looks at you, Bumpy, and Crom, and says, "Would you all be interested to participate in looking at looking at what an oath for a paladin looks like?"
I like Torm well enough.
Okay, but hold on. I know you said you like Torm well enough, but do you want they're taking
Oh, that's his
Acer?
shitty way of saying yes, brother.
Oh, cool, awesome.
You got it, buddy.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Chrome, are you interested in going or not?
Yeah, religion doesn't really entice me in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. So you're not
No.
interested in going?
No, I think I'm going to under the merchant aisle.
Ooh. That sounds great. Okay, so with that, Ansar says, "Well, listen, guys, your rooms have been taken care of. You each get your own. I've already handled that. Like I said, Darius will take you two guys to go see the oath making of a paladin, and Crom, you said you're gonna go do some shopping, which sounds great. Once, and then he'll point at somebody else and says, "Here, Evelyn will go with you. She just so you know where to go, Crom. It'll be okay." And a girl kind of comes out of the side, who had been kind of hanging around y'all, but she was just kind of hiding, or not. Sorry, not hiding, but hanging around. She says, "Yes, I will go with him." And Arthur says, "Yes, just show him where the merchant's aisle are. After that, come to the training grounds. I have a feeling that y'all will enjoy this area." And with that, Arthur gets up and says, "All right, well, it is my time to call to leave, but feel free to stay and play if you would like. I will see you tomorrow after your endeavors."
Yeah. Good night.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Is there anything else that y'all want to do?
No, I just want to ask Crom a question.
Mhm.
Is your name Crom because that's the name of Conan's god of the earth and Conan the Barbarian?
No.
Okay. I rewatch that movie twice a year, so.
Mm. That's funny.
I don't know where. That's just an old D&D name from many years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've used it throughout the years in the various online games I've played.
Kick ass.
Crom is just such a good name.
It is. It's a good name.
Okay, so the night happens. Everybody gets to sleep. No, nothing crazy happens with their sleep, except for Bumpy. You get that voice in your head comes back for another 20 minutes and continues telling you the story about how this person had met a vampire and had fallen in love for a vampire, and in the story, which is at some point you yourself realize that it's just a fantasy story within a fantasy story. But in the story that you get told about for 20 minutes, this person goes to school with this vampire, and it's always very cloudy outside, and it's always raining, and there's a weird attraction that this person has to this vampire. And then the next 20 minutes of the story, it ends with a car almost running over the person and the vampire saving her.
Do you mean a wagon?
Oh, sorry, I said a cart.
Oh,
but,
cart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a cart. But yeah, a wagon is fine too. But you see the wagon or a cart almost hitting this person, and the vampire saving her, and then rushing off. and this is kind of where it ends for the night.
I
And
think
then
I've
after,
lost my goddamn mind.
and
Maybe I
then
should
after
have
that,
Storm to cure my brain.
and with that, fall asleep. And
Oh,
it is
I'm
part of
not
the next.
sure. I'm not sure if I can. I've got a mysterious voice popping up in my head for 20 minutes telling me a story about a vampire. I think that I've lost my mind.
If we could roll a we could roll a what would this be, a constitution to see if you manage to fall asleep after the story.
Man, I mean, if you're gonna let me, fine. But I think I'm tripping balls.
um yeah, no, but you will you will get to go to sleep eventually. How about that?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
And so then the next morning, everything gets up. So the group is going to separate a little bit. So we'll do from let's go ahead. So you wanted to go to the merchant's quarters. So um what was her name?
Andrew or something like that.
Yeah, but the girl, I think it was. I don't know why I feel like it's Evelyn. Evelyn was her name. There we go.
Bro, would you be up to selling some of our group loot shit?
Sure.
So
Sweet.
in group loot, we've got some swords and armor and like a ritual dagger and a jeweled ring.
I would keep the armors that we got from.
Okay, you want to
from,
keep those? Okay.
Yeah.
that's
just
cool.
because they're like ornate and purple, and I think that they might help us infiltrate later if we need it.
Okay, cool. I'll put in all caps to keep it. You got it, dude.
Okay. All right. So Evelyn takes you to the merchant's quarters, but as you're walking through the city of Elturel and you're kind of like walking around, you see that how do I explain it? Like there's a big market with the merchants that everybody can go to, and it's packed, filled with people. And she kind of like pulls you off to the side a little bit, and you go into a what looks like a massive warehouse on the outside. And when you go inside here, there's only a smaller number of stalls. And she looks at you and says, uh, Master Onthard told us to bring you here. This is kind of like our personal shopping center, if you will. Only people with who have incurred a good deeds and have the blessing of Master Onthar can shop here. But you may be able to find better things than you would out there. So please, please proceed. I will be right here waiting for you when you're done.
Gotcha. Well, I start
Um,
walking through the warehouse and kind of keeping an eye out for weapons or anything that might catch my eye.
okay. Go ahead and roll perception. Um, yeah, so you walk around, and as you come in, you can see like there's still rows of merchants, but the distinctive noise of a hammer striking metal coming from the back of the house kind of like calls your name a little bit, right? And so you're able to hear the clinking of what you're assuming is a blacksmith. He's tink, tink, tink.
I start making my way to the back.
Okay, and so you make it all the way through like the different merchants. You see armor and gloves and cloaks and different things, and as you walk to the back, the um like the temperature in this place kind of like rises little by little because there, like the back corner it's open, or like sorry, the back corner kind of like has some vents, and you can even tell that there's like some magic kind of like sucking up the heat on this section, so that the entirety of this warehouse doesn't just has all like unbearable heat, but it's still pretty hot. It's just gotten warmer, right? It's and
Yeah.
as you get closer, you see a person working um, the like like in an anvil and like with a hot sword, and there's another person in front of it, and this one's a dwarven woman at the front, and she's kind of like talking to customers and handling like all of the weapon distribution, if you will.
Okay. So I walk up to her
Okay.
and just kind of like eyeball see if there's any like swords or anything kind of lined up along the back wall there.
Okay. So as you're asking, as you're looking for like swords and everything, she kind of says like, "Hi, how can I help you?"
I'm looking for something a little bit more nimble. I've got this glaive and I got this halberd, but I've started really working with my longsword skills and started picking up the ability to fight with two of them. And so I'm just kind of, looking for something with maybe a little higher quality than what I have. So I'm, looking to see, what's available.
Hi. Ah. Well, things might get a little bit pricey, but we can see what we got. Are you looking to sell your weapons on top of buying weapons from us? Is that what you're looking for?
Potentially, just depends.
Potentially.
Yeah, just depends on what you got.
Okay. Well, let
I
me
mean,
let me look over here.
I do have some items here, and I pull out like the loot items, like the long sword, the short sword, the spear, the ritual dagger. It's like, well, first, what can you give me for these items?
Yes. Hang on one second. One second.
And you guys wanted me to sell the ring as well, right?
Yeah, and if you need that for your stuff, I don't mind. I've been given items that are kind of valuable, and I feel like y'all have had to kind of take a back seat, so that's not fair to y'all.
Well, no, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything special
Well,
that we were
don't
holding on to.
you, Bumpy? Don't you need that for one of your spells, like the?
I've got another one, another ring that's a pearl
Oh,
one. Thank
okay.
you for that, though. Yeah, I definitely kept that one.
Yeah, spell components are very important.
Yeah,
Indeed.
especially when
I
they
just,
require a pearl.
oh, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I've been given so much I didn't want to take from the rest of you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I figured.
So she kind of starts looking, and she's like, "Well, I got a couple of things over here." So she pulls out a couple of weapons, like they're all like different size, different looking, uh, long swords and stuff. Um, but for the most part, while they all look very in better conditions than the ones that you're selling, uh, these particular ones don't look magical at all. And so she pulls out and says, "Well, we have all of these. These are the ones we make, and they're very sharp and very good. But these are the ones we have that we make at home. Are you looking for something like this, or something like above this, and with more? How do you say like oomph?
Definitely more oomph.
Is that with more oomph? Well, continue this way, and so she moves. So like the the way that this blacksmith works is there's a ring, and like so there's the wall of the warehouse, right? Like the corner of the warehouse, and then there's like like a half circle around that corner. And so she kind of moves over to the side and she pulls all the weapons down, cleans the counter just like a little bit, and then like pushes a couple of buttons on the like what looks like buttons on the counter, and she pushes them. You kind of like hear gears grinding. And as they turn, you see the entire counter just kind of rotate. And there's like the same counter at the top, but the glass where like there were some weapons stashed has completely changed. Like it all rotates, and so now you're looking at a brand new set of weapons on a stash. And she says, "Well, these have a little bit more oomph, mind you. We'll see how these work out." As she starts pulling out a couple of swords, and she says, "Well, this is a magical weapon, and it's a magical weapon. It cuts a little deeper, and it gets a little it's a little bit easier to make contact and cut really deep to your opponents. So that would be like a long sword of a +1, for example. Um, is this the oomph level that you're looking for, or are you looking for something even more than that?"
What else you got?
So, okay, I'm gonna assume that with that this is still an option, or are we not doing this one at all?
Keep it on the table, but I want to see what else you got.
Okay, so she puts it on the table and pushes a couple of other buttons, and you see the ring again. Is like another part. It's just, now listen, this is the really expensive stuff that we have, so I'm not necessarily sure how it may all play out. And I'm trying to make sure. One second, let me make sure that I do this correctly. I promise I'm almost there. Okay. So she pulls out okay. So she pulls out a couple of weapons, and she says, "And you're very interested in specifically you're very interested in long swords, right?" And so she starts rummaging through some of the stuff that are here. Okay.
While she's doing that, I pick up the first sword she, showed me, and I'm just holding it in my main hand and just kind of twirling it, just trying to get a feel of it.
Okay. It looked like the one you have seems like a very, very good, like a very good weapon. It has a really nice feel to it. It seems
Good
like
balance.
yes, good balance, good feel to it. I'm trying to make sure that I can tell you. Oh, really? I'm trying to give you like a couple of the weapons that she has. Okay. So she pulls out one of the swords, and like this one looks like a very distinctive, very different kind of sword. It looks like it's a bunch like it looks like a flat blade, and it's really pretty, really nice. And she says, "Well, so this one also produces a lot of attack that like it's very good." And she kind of hands it over to you. And as you're kind of like moving it around and everything, you notice that the weapon itself is very it's light, it's very balanced. You could feel like the magic to it. And she says, "Now what makes this weapon really expensive is," and she says a word in dwarvish. You don't speak dwarvish, do you?
No.
Okay, so you just hear the dwarvish like dialect come in, and soon as the word gets spoken, the blade kind of like separates into little pieces, and it kind of like folds over, and it extends, and you realize that it's now kind of like a whip, and it could be used as a whip for like 10 feet. Uh, if you want it. And then she says the word again, and the blade kind of like comes together, and it becomes a blade itself once more. Um, so she says, "We have that if you're interested on something like that." Um, maybe not. Maybe not. Let's continue to look. And so she kind of like grabs another one, and she says, "Now, out of like long swords, this happens to be the other one we have. Um, let me make sure. Oh, not that one. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay, and so she gives you this other weapon, and she puts it there, and she says, "Now this one." And now, when you look at this sword in particularly, like it looks, it's still a long sword by length, but it looks very skinny, very long, and everything. And she says this one also has a little magic to it, and she kind of uh, kind of puts it in, like puts it like this, and like holds it, and speaks another different dwarvish word, and lets go, and the blade just kind of like floats in the air. And then she kind of like moves her hand as she speaks some words, and the blade kind of like moves around, and then there's a dummy about like, you know 10 feet away from her, and she kind of like goes there, speaks another word, and the blade kind of like cuts through like into the dummy. She says, "So this is what we call a dancing sword." um and mind you, both of the weapons, I know that I'm speaking dwarvish, but you can customize the words to be whatever you want them to be once you attune to the weapon. And then she says another word, and the sword kind of like flies back, and she like grabs it off the air, and she hands it to you for testing.
Gotcha. Hmm.
And she says, these are the ones that we have with the most oomph, if you so will. They're a little expensive, but this is what we have."
Okay. So I pick each one of them up again, and I go through my motions with them.
Okay. And so she's looking at it, and she looks at you, like, go through the motions and everything, and she says, "Now, well, you mentioned you when you were talking. I know you mentioned you said you had been practicing with long swords, plural. So I know that for the cost of either the flying sword or the whip sword, you could buy two of the other ones if you're so interested in that, and still probably save some money."
Hmm. Do you have another of the not so fancy longsword?
I do indeed. And she kind of like leaves the other two swords out and push a couple of buttons, and you see the blacksmith wheel just kind of like turns the other way, right? And she pulls out another, not super fancy, but is definitely a second sword. She says, "So we have this one. So we do have two. We have a couple of more if you're really interested. But yes."
Okay. So what are you asking for two of these?
Okay. So for two of those, that would be about 250 gold. And then she kind of like, so she puts both of them on the side. So it's like, for both of these, they would be about 250 gold. But you're here with Mr. Onthar. We knew you were coming, and you have his blessing. So we could probably go as low as 225. and then she puts the other ones right next to each other, and she says this one, and she talks about the whip one, and she says this one's about $800, 800 gold, and then the flying one is 1300.
Well, let's see. Oh, I have the long sword, short sword, spear, ritual dagger. What would they give me for that?
Let me
Then I also have the 2 long swords and the glaive.
Cool. Yes, hang on.
And I guess you could take your share of the group loot up there. And the coins.
Yeah. Let me see what I can finagle here.
Over
So,
the table, really quick.
Mhm.
You're getting like 2 +1 long swords?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have, so for the
Three long swords, 1 short sword, 1 spear, and 1 ritual dagger.
Here. So good to know. Always keep in mind. One. Okay, so for everything they can give you. Hold on, I haven't done the glaive yet. Oops. Yeah, they'll give you about 63 gold pieces for all of it, including in the glaive.
Okay. How much do you buy jewelry?
She doesn't, but you can probably where you are, you can easily sell it for 40 gold pieces.
Sell that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sitting there counting through my
Yeah.
coin, and so I pull my halberd of frost off my back and look at it, and I look at her, and I'm like, so what would you give me for this?
So so she grabs the halberd and she puts it like on the counter, and you see a little ice kind of like cover over like the little wooden plate, and she kind of like pulls out a little monocle, and she kind of like starts looking at it, and she says, okay, so for this particular thing, we could we could pay about 1,200 gold.
What? Oh, that's awesome.
So I kind of raised an eyebrow at her. I'm like, 1,200, huh?
1,200.
And how much are those other magical swords? The non non.
The whip one is 800 and the other one's 13. The flying one.
And those longswords, you said 225 apiece?
It was 250 for the both, because they know they
Oh,
above table.
And with
Above
Uthar,
table.
yeah, with Uthar's discount, it was 225.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yes, but it was for both of them, because those they could make easily. Those they can make easily and they can replace easily, and there's like some background things happening that makes them cheaper. So both of the plus ones are together would be 225 for both of them. One for 115, we'll say. If you want to be specific, it would be 112.50, right? Per
Awesome,
each
bro.
one. So you could get the whip and a plus one by selling your halberd if you want. Like the whip weapon and that, and still get money back if that's what you want to choose to do.
So is
Or
the,
you
the whip one, does it just turn into a whip? That's its only property that he knows
Uh,
of? Or am I table talking right now?
so above table, so it's a longsword that can become a whip, so it has the reach property, and then it does have a plus one to it as well.
Okay,
So
it's plus one also, understood.
so that's above table, right? Like Prom wouldn't be able to know that it's a plus one weapon, but it is a plus one and it gets reach.
When you say it's like a whip, what I'm imagining is Ivy's sword from Soul Calibur 2.
Oh, that may be a good way to describe it.
I understand what you're saying there.
I don't know if she's in other Soul Calibur games. I've just only played 2 when I was a kid, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so yeah, it would be kind of like that. It's not as,
Probably not
I
as
don't know, the
long.
picture I'm looking at looks kind of like skinny, you know?
Okay.
Okay, so I sit there and I kind of think and look at her and I look at the weapons and I think I'll go with the sword whip and one of the plus ones.
Okay.
And then the remaining balance in gold for the halberd.
Ooh, okay, sounds good. So that is 1200 minus 9, 12, 1200 minus 9, 12,
300.
Yeah. Yep, so you're getting 287.50 back. So will you roll a persuasion check for me? I know persuasion may not be your thing, but
Definitely is not.
I know. That's okay.
Not bad. Good, but not bad.
Cool. Hey, I was doing a 50-50. So yeah, so what happens is, so you do it, you tell her the plan and everything. She says, okay, we can do that. So she hands you both the plus one sword. The whip sword keeps the halberd, and then hands you 300 gold pieces. And she says, this halberd is gonna sell super quick and I can turn it into a profit. Don't tell anybody, very quickly. So just keep the 300, it'll be okay.
Nice.
And then I'll add the whip-like sword to your inventory after tonight's session.
That's fine. Cool beans.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, is there anything else that you would like to do?
No, well, let's see. I've got a little gold in my pocket to burn.
You do?
No, I'm good. No, I'll just I'll mosey around, look at the other vendors, just see what they got. Any little trinkets or anything.
Okay, awesome. So you start looking at that, and when we're gonna spotlight Bumpy and Acer real quick. So Bumpy and Acer, Prom leaves with Evelyn early in the morning, and your guide comes to take y'all, and as you're following him, you start going into this more into like the upper city of the area, where like the houses just look a little bit nicer, the places are taken care of a little bit better.
This is
You
in
can see
Benton,
there's a
right?
little, yeah, essentially.
Okay. Gotcha.
So like everything looks a little bit better, and the closer and closer, your guide keeps talking. He's like, yeah, well, we're getting closer to this thing, and we're getting closer to that thing, and then the closer, like he says, the temple of Bahama, the silver goddess, is very close by. You don't have to worry about anything. We're almost there, and as you get closer, there's a ring of people around a building, and as you're getting closer to this building, you can see that there's a massive church where like the steeple at the very top has like the wings of a dragon coming out, and there's it's all made out of silver, and then even the bell at the top, the ring throughout the day is made out of silver, and you can infer that this is the temple of Bahamut. But there's a lot of people around you between where you are and getting to the temple. What do you choose to do?
Are they like crowding to where we wouldn't be able to get into the temple?
You're gonna have to like kind of like, you're not even close to like get into the temple, like they're around the temple, and you're would y'all both roll perception for me?
Oh, oh,
uh
wow.
so Bumpy, where you are, like you just see the people and you can't really like see everything, and you start fuzzing about like all these people that are here, right? Like you're like, oh, these motherfucker people around here. Whereas like Acer, you start hearing like there's like somebody blowing whistles, what it seems like, around the church. So you're hearing like beep beep, and kind of like a little bit more of a commotion in front of what the crowd of people would look like. You may have to like kind of like push your way through these people if you want to get to the front.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll see what's going on.
Are you going to, Bumpy?
Yeah, I'm gonna use my minor illusion cantrip
Okay.
to cast a like a king cobra that's wrapped around my neck and it's got his head up by me.
Okay. Oh man, hold on one second.
Okay.
I was not expecting the King Cobra to be mentioned, so
I know. I just thought it would be funny as fuck.
oh, it's great. Okay, so to push through the people, Bumpy, I think you're gonna roll a. Man, what kind of roll would this be? I think it could be like an Arcana with advantage, maybe even because you have your magic helping you, and I don't
I
see
like it.
anything better than that at this particular moment. Are you
I'll roll the
following?
same number on both. That's fucking
That's really
wild.
funny. That's funny. Um,
Do I
Bumpy,
understand like what
are you
he's trying to do?
Well, you. Do you?
I mean, over the table I do, but in the game, would I know?
I don't know.
Bumpy, what's with the
Oh,
snake?
I mean,
Would you? I think this is an Acer question. Like, would you know?
trying to get these people out of the way. Thought they would run. Guess I was wrong.
I've got an idea. So I'd like to prestidigitation, and I can do a small gust of wind, and an interesting. It says or an odd odor, and I can have up to 3 of these effects. So I'll do the gust of wind and the odor that like precedes Bumpy, so that people, especially like kind of turn and look and kind of crinkle their noses and like, oh, what's that? And then they maybe see the snake. Essentially, what I'd like to do is help him, but he's already got advantage, so I don't know how that would work.
No, that just lowers the DC to like total.
Okay, then yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, so the way you're helping, like, So the gust of wind comes through and the smell comes through, and then people do start turning towards Bumpy. And as soon as they start turning to you and see this snake on your shoulders, like they all kind of like start parting, like it's like the Red Sea. They're just moving away, and then you can see that the church is actually blocked off, and there's what you're like guards standing right in front of you. If you make it all the way to the front of like where they're blocking off the church.
Okay, when we get up to where they block it off, of course I'm going to dismiss that illusion. I don't want to scare away the guards themselves. Can we see why
Okay.
it's blocked off, bro?
Yeah, so from where you are, like you don't know the specifics. How about you all roll perception? And I'll tell you like kind of what like once more, and then we'll see kind of what we're getting. Okay. So with that, like what you notice, so you can't really see what's happening, but you're listening to the people around you, and they're all whispering, and they're like, "Hey, there was supposed to be somebody getting committing their oath to the silver dragon, but did you hear what happened? I heard that like somebody fell, and there was like the ground at the church caved in, and then there's like a secret cave beneath the main altar to this church. Did you hear that?" And like people are just like running this rumor around, and by the time you get to the front, that's the story that you've heard from all these people.
Dang, bro.
Okay, and then.
Before we approach the guards, I would like to, like as we've cleared out through the crowd and they've let us through, I'd like to cancel the other 2 effects and create 3 new ones.
Okay.
And each of them is going to be the same symbol that Onthar was wearing with the gloved blue hand thing. So basically, prestidigitation says that I can create a non-magical trinket that lasts up to like an hour or something.
Okay, where are you putting this trinket?
So basically, I'd like it to be like a crest that sits kind of in the middle of my chest, like on my armor.
Okay.
And like one on each gauntlet. Or like on my wrist type area.
So the symbol of Torm is on your armor.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. You get it. On your head, you hear the voice of that like dark entity, and you can feel the eye of like your sword from your dream that says like, "Ugh, disgusting," having to create the symbol of those rule followers. That's what you hear.
Can I try to talk back to him and just say, "Quiet, you. This is not the time."
You don't hear anything, but you said it in your head for sure.
Okay. And then I think, Bumpy, if you're ready, we'll approach the guards.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
wondering, can I cast minor illusion and the illusion travel with me?
Didn't you just have the snake traveling with you?
Well, I figured I would just, put that same symbol on my breastplate.
Absolutely.
Or it's not a breastplate, on my armor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. That way we both got the same symbol.
So you get to the front, and one of the guards up there at the front kind of looks at you and says, "Huh, followers of Torm, I guess. What brings you here?"
We're with Onthar. We were actually interested in the oath-taking ceremony, but it seems something has happened. And I think you should let us through so that we can help assess the situation and maybe help anybody that might have been hurt.
All right, what he said.
Roll for persuasion with advantage.
Dirty 20?
Yeah. So the guy kind of looks at you, looks at your symbols, and says, "Well, you said you're with Onthar." At which point Darius, your guide, finally catches up to you. He's like, "Yeah, we're here. They're with me. Let us through. We'll see what's happening." Not that you needed Darius. He was just staying behind. So they let you did not need Darius. Trust me.
Johnny come lately.
So you get to go in, and Darius is guiding you through. Is there anything that y'all need to do or anything like that, or no?
Dismiss the illusion. First off, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow his lead like once we're through, and especially now that Darius is with us.
Okay.
And I'll try to make it like we don't want him to see, Maybe he didn't notice. Who knows? But not that Bahamut's going to be bad about this just over the table, but I don't think he'll care too much. If Tor's a good god, I can't remember over the table, but I don't know. This my character would know. So
Yeah, Torm is a good. I mean, he's the god of heroics and justice.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he's a good god.
But yeah, we'll dismiss that and walk in.
Okay.
And I think we'd like to look around, like kind of immediately when we get there to see what's going on or what's happened or what we can do to help.
Okay, so you get into the church and you see a couple of things. This church is beautifully adorned. You have the pews; they all have like a rim of silver around them with what looks and then back like the backs where you lean your back against it. They have details of wings. Like they don't have the shape of wings, but it looks like they've been etched to look like dragon wings that are made out of. Like I know I say it's silver, but it's supposed to be like it's a coating of platinum. I think that's really what I mean to say when I say silver. It's just a coating of platinum, so it's not super cheap to do, but it's also not super expensive to do. But the pews have this, and then there's a couple of other symbols that resemble the platinum dragon. And in the very, very front, where the main altar, you assume where the main altar would be, there's a statue of the platinum dragon with its wings opened. And at the bottom, right below where the like a priest would give the sermon, there's just a hole into the ground.
Damn.
Well, that's what you get for speaking lies in Bahamut's sanctuary. Anyway.
Do y'all want to go investigate, or what are we doing?
I think we should, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. We got to do something.
Okay. So you get closer and closer and closer, and as you get to the very, very front, people are talking to Darius, and Darius just keeps kind of like pushing them away and say like, "No, they're with me. We're gonna go see what's happening. We're here for Onthar." And you look down into like this hole, right? And it looks like literally just the ground just caved in. And they are like the soldiers here are trying to put pittons so they can put ropes so they can send people into the hole to see what's happening. But that's what they're trying to do.
Bumpy, you got
and you see people just.
All right, well, let's see what they can do. I'll supervise. Tired.
Okay, so you see them like hit the pittons, clink, clink, clink. Like there, it seems to be like they're gonna put 4, so 4 people can't go in. And so like 3 of them are really well done. One of them looks kind of iffy. It doesn't look like the pitton's placed correctly.
I'll go fix it.
Okay, so
Rudely.
you fixed it. Are you doing it like a man can fish kind of situation, or are you just like?
No, I'm gonna walk
Doing
over and I'm gonna put my hand on whoever's shoulder and be like, "Listen, you're gonna get yourself killed, you dummy." And I'm just gonna take the hammer out of his hand and fix it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you go ahead and do it. You see the guy kind of like looks around like, the fuck is this guy doing here? And then he watches Darius, who just kind of like, like tells him like, just calm down. And he lets it go and move away. They put ropes through all 4 of the pittons that are there, and then they have a group of people holding onto the rope, at which point Darius takes one of the ropes and says, "Listen, don't get in trouble, don't do anything. I'm going down there to see what's happening."
Does
so
Darius look well armed?
Darius he has his armor on, and he has a sword and a shield on his, like a sword on his side and a shield on his back. Okay. But he doesn't seem like, from like you're not, are you sizing him up, or are you just saying like, how does he look?
Just saying how he's armed. That's all.
Yeah, he has a sword and a shield. Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
And he ties
tell him that we'd like
rope
to go with him?
Okay, so Acer wants to go. Bumpy, do you want to go or no?
So Man, yeah, it'll be fun. Fuck it, yeah.
Okay, so you tell Darius that, and Darius says, "Are you sure? You're not. You don't have to, but I would. I mean, if you were able to survive the dragons, I would love to have your help."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the sooner we get to it, the sooner we can be done with it.
Okay, so they tie you off and everything. Everything looks really well done, and then they start lowering you into the cave. And the farther down you go, so you go deeper and deeper, about 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. Once you get to the 25 feet, meant to say, I know I went from 20 to 30, but once you get to the 25 foot, the room, like below you, you can tell that the room opens. And you go 30, 35. And when you get to 35 feet, you can see this ginormous chamber underneath this temple. And in this chamber, as soon as you make it through, the lights turn on, as if by magic. And there's now 4 big braziers of like giving off light. And as you're spinning around, kind of like dangling on the air, you're spinning around. You see this on one of the walls. I know it's tiny, uh,
Oh my goodness.
but you see, um, you see a couple of pictures. So in here, the first picture that you see is exactly what you're seeing here on the screen, which is in the body of right, like here, what looks like in one body and 5 heads, the heads of the chromatic dragons with other chromatic dragons around them. And then you can see what you interpret as Bahamut, the platinum dragon, and a couple of golden dragons and silver dragons around them. And there's a fight happening between them. And as you spin around, kind of here, suspended in the air, you kind of see the events of a story unfolding of this. You can't make out the finite details of the story, but what you can see is there's a dragon egg. From the egg, a dragon with 1 body and 5 heads comes out. You see him ascend, or you see this creature. You see it on the next picture, right? Be atop a group of dragons colored into like red, black, green, blue. That you see them, and this entity's the buff. And then you continue to spin around, and you see the fight between Bahamut and this entity here. And as you spin around, you see kind of like a picture of the ground with mountains, and then you see like 9 partitions below it, and that entity is on the top partition in this 9-level deep drawing.
So the 5-headed entity is at the top of 9 different partitions.
Yes, below what looks like a mountain at the top.
Okay, so it goes down and it's at the bottom?
So hang on, let me see if I can draw it. Because I know I'm not doing.
Oh, so the dragon's on top of the mountain, and the mountain is on top of 9 partitions.
The dragon is in the first partition below the mountain.
Okay. You got
Sorry,
it.
that's what. I know I'm not doing it justice, but like it would be something like, so here.
So like the CEO of a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it kind of like that. So here, then you have like the mountain right here, and then you have like 9 partitions, right, like this, and they're labeled 1, 2, 3, and then the entity is like right here at the top level, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. It's like the first layer of hell or something.
The 9 layers of Avernus.
And that is kind of what you see as you spin around and you see these drawings and everything, and it seems to be like a temple. And as you look down onto the temple, you see what looks like a star, like a 5-sided star, but each star, like each corner of the star, has the body shape and type of a chromatic dragon, and they all kind of like connect into the middle into one smaller star.
That doesn't seem good.
Nope.
In any of these depictions, is the depiction of Bahamut on top, like winning?
Here, no. Do you just see the battle and then you see the next one of him, like at the in that first level as we were talking?
Wait, Bahamut's on the first level of the partitions?
No. Like I was saying, like the only reference to Bahamut
Okay.
is in this picture, and like you see him here, and then on the next panel you see the five-headed creature on the first level of those 9 partitions.
Well, I'll turn to Bumpy and I'll say it looks like whoever's Bahamut's fighting, he basically won because he put his whole temple over wherever this is. It's pretty symbolic, if you ask me.
Well, I guess this leads to more questions than answers.
Was there anybody before we came down that looked like a temple official that was not a guard or Darius?
No, not from where you were coming. It seemed like everybody had just been taken away and moved away.
Okay.
Like
And that would
this.
include the guy that was being oath sworn in to Bahamut?
You
was
don't
taken
know who
away?
the person was, but you didn't
Okay.
like. You don't know who that was, but you didn't see that. Like you didn't see anybody who didn't look like a soldier. How about that?
Okay.
So,
go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
No, you first.
Okay. So, some 5-headed dragon hatches. Comes out. Looks like it's from the first level of hell, and fights Bahamut, and now puts a gigantic hole. And I mean, who even built this room? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of questions here that I don't have any
You know
answers
what?
for.
I have a very unique ability. And it's the ability to, let's see. I can... It has to do with recognizing shit in stonework. I'm sorry. I'll just be 1 second, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you make
Whenever you make a.
Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. Whenever you make an intelligence history check related to the origin of stonework, you can add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your regular. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming this place was built of stone since it's in the ground.
Mhm.
Can I tell first off if it was deliberately carved out or if it's a natural cave? And then 2, can I tell anything about the stonework that might indicate how long it's been built or who might have made it?
Absolutely. Go ahead and roll.
You got it, homie.
And that's with double proficiency?
Yep.
Mhm.
Ooh.
So that is a
Wow.
natural 20 with a +7.
Nice.
Damn. And I think that +7 should be like an extra +3 because of your double proficiency.
Well, it I think it automatically adds it in because my normal intelligence checks are like +4.
Right, but then your proficiency. Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, it's adding it in on my character sheet as a +7, so it's doing me right.
I see. Okay, awesome. Cool. All right. So, a couple of things. This particular cave does not look like it is a natural occurring cave. It seems to be so it's not kind of like Mithril Hall, right? Like that it was like there was the mountain and then they carved the city into the mountain, like inside the mountain, right? This is more like it looks like this place was here before and then the mountain came after. That's what you're like. So you remember the picture of Elturel that we looked at earlier? I'm gonna pull it up just in case. So you see kind of how it's like staggered and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
like in a slope. So it looks like, from what you can tell, as best as you can tell from this was here, and then whatever happened, the next temple got built atop it, kind of like somebody purposefully kept this room below the temple above, and they kind of like the mountain kind of grew around this temple, if that makes sense.
So this
I know
temple is
mountains,
old as hell.
right? And I know like, and I know that mountains don't grow, but like you get kind of what I'm trying to say, right? Like the things, like it was a temple, and then they something brought the mountain around it, and then they put the temple atop it.
Okay. So almost like they're trying to seal it in, like they built a good temple on top of a shit temple.
Yeah.
Or on top of an evil temple or something.
Yes,
Ooh,
that
that's
would be
wild, bro.
that is a great way of saying that.
Okay,
Um,
so
and so once you
uh,
do all of these things, go ahead.
oh no, you go right ahead, buddy.
Darius kind of um, like wiggles on the rope a little bit, like as you're hanging, and then like they wiggles on the rope, sends like a message on it, and they pull you back up. And then once you get to the top, he says, "Listen, uh, Bumpy and Acer, you go and talk to Master Onthar. Tell him what you've seen. Mr. Leothan should probably hear about this as well.
Where are you
I
going, Darius?
I have to deal with this, and it is at this moment that you kind of see that all the people around, they have armor, they have symbols, but you can see that Darius's armor is slightly more special, meaning that he probably outranks everybody here. He says, "I need to handle this and deal with this right now. Y'all go talk to Leosin and Onthar for me. I will give my official Master Onthar that I will give my official report once I finish dealing with whatever's happening here."
Very well. Acer?
Yep.
And it's at this point that like Darius calls for another guard, and he kind of like takes you into the training grounds of uh, the Order of the Gauntlet, which is where you'll find um, Onthar. And for you, Crom, after you finish your haggling and everything, is there anything that you wanted to buy? Anything else that you would like to attempt to buy from here, or are you good with just the weapons?
I'm just good with weapons. I'm gonna head
Awesome.
back to the inn.
Okay, awesome. So you head back to the inn, and once you're in the inn eating your food, and Evelyn is with you, you see somebody come in, whisper a couple of words to Evelyn, and once you finish your meal, Evelyn says, "Mr. Crom, we are requested to go meet Master Onthar at the Order of the Gauntlets headquarters. Please follow me."
You lead the way.
Ooh, you're in
Okay.
trouble.
If it's by her, then bring it on.
At which point she takes you to the headquarters of the Order of the Gauntlet. And when you get there, you see Bumpy and Acer also kind of like coming in around the same time. And that's kind of where we're going to leave off tonight with whatever comes next.
That sounds like a good stopping point.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.